I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batwoman? When it was announced that Batwoman was entering the CW's Arrowverse, you could not go anywhere online and type in CW Batwoman without seeing many, many different points of views. Now, some people just love the fact that we were getting a bat related show. Huge fans of the Batwoman character loved that she was getting the live action treatment for the first time. Some people just liked having another CW show. Some people thought, okay, we're having Batwoman, maybe we'll get Batman. Then there were other people who just hated the idea of the show, whether it was because of Ruby Rose playing the character, whether it was because it was a female-led show, even though we already had Supergirl people, or even the fact that it was a lesbian-led show as well. Those people, just from my personal opinion, are idiots. Stupid. You should not take their advice or listen to them at any point. But I'm not here to talk about that aspect. I want to talk about the show. Because for me, I'm only interested in a show that has great stories, great characters, great relationships. Yes, some great fights, some great superhero stuff, some comic related stuff as well, and something that takes me away, even if it's just for 40 minutes, from the real world. A place where I can live in a world similar to ours, but just off kilter from ours enough that it's different. As season 1 was happening, people had all these different thoughts. Some, again, remained positive. Some became negative. And every time I heard something, I couldn't help but think about what they were saying. And if it was something negative, I just didn't understand why. Now, since the end of the first season, yes, a lot of opinions have changed. And there's been a lot happening with it behind the scenes since Ruby Rose quit and new storylines that they're developing. Again, that's not what I wanted to talk about. But I want to look at why people thought this was a bad show. Because I just didn't understand it. Now, to be frank, if Batman's not your character or if superheroes aren't your thing, that's fine. There's plenty of things that I'm sure other people are into that I could care less about watching. If you gave it 1 or 2 episodes and just wasn't for you, that's fine. But when you flat out say you don't like a show without seeing anything, or you give me a really dumb reason why you don't like it, like, that's a Batman villain, it should not be a Batwoman villain, then I just have to be, so? It's all comic books. It doesn't matter. For Fandom University, this is Defending 101. Today, CW's Batwoman. After Superman, Batman is probably the most well-known and most beloved of comic book characters. He's been around almost as long as Superman has. How many times did he and Superman team up to the point that they become world's finest? He's part of the DC Trinity. He has enveloped the whole world in his dark cape and embraced it. We all know who he is. He's another character that we all know the origin story, and we've seen it a million times. Where Superman is this ray of sunshine, he's hope, he's dreams, he's the Boy Scout. Batman is the darkness to that light, the gritty underbelly of the world, the darkness that we all know is there, and maybe for a little bit we wish we could embrace and do something with. To the point that there have been so many incarnations of Batman throughout the years. Whether that's in comic books with Detective Comics, Batman, Batman Incorporated, Batman Beyond, to the animated TV realm with Batman the Animated Series from the 90s, which many of us love, to Batman Beyond and many more, to animated features, both theatrical and straight to Blu-ray, DVD, VHS, for those of you who know what they are, including Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Sub-Zero, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, or some of the more recent ones like Batman vs. Robin, to, of course, the live action versions as well. We all know them, and we even know some of them that suck. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know how I feel when it comes to that specific Batman that so many people dislike. But that being said, there's so many versions of Batman that we've seen. In live action, we've had George Clooney, Val Kilmer, Michael Keaton, Adam West. We've had Ben Affleck. We're getting Robert Pattinson. I'm even going to put Kevin Conroy in there because he is the voice of Batman for so many of us. So with Batman getting so much attention and so many chances to be dark and brooding and envelop us, isn't it time that somebody else takes the lead for once? Sure, Robin could do it, Batgirl could do it, but what about Batwoman? You see, Robin's had his own comic book series. He's been in many incarnations of Batman. He's been in Titans. Same with Batgirl. She's had many incarnations as well, even the ones that you may not like. But Batwoman really hasn't had her shot. She might have been momentarily in Justice League Unlimited somewhere in the background. She did play a prominent role in Batman Bad Blood, and then she showed up later on. There was even a movie in the 90s called Batman, Mystery of the Batwoman. But she's never really gotten her shot that these other Bat characters have. So when they announced that they were making a Batwoman show and Ruby Rose was going to play her, I was excited. I saw the costume, I saw the pics, and I'm like, that's good for me. Ruby looks good. I'm looking forward to another take on another character, someone that we're not as familiar with. Even me, personally, I didn't know that much about her. So I was excited to see what they were going to do with that. And you know what? I think they nailed it. When you're adapting any type of source material, whether it's novels, comic books, old TV shows, revivals, and no matter if you're making it a movie or TV show, the most important thing is that you get the essence of that property. What is it about it that fans have loved, whether it's only for a couple years or for many years? And when it comes to comics, part of that is the origin story itself. Now, I'll admit I don't know a lot about Batwoman's origin story. I know enough to know that they made changes in the show. But the changes they made, they work. They're not affecting the overall character or the overall spirit of the comic. You have Kate experience family death with her sister and her mother. You have her being a lesbian. So she's not sure how she fits into this world. She's scared. She's the outcast. You have her with military training. You have a father who's very, very strict, who also has military training and deals in law enforcement. So all of that together makes up Kate Kane and makes up Batwoman. Not to mention, she is the cousin of Bruce, which means it makes sense when they introduce characters from Batman lore or Batman mythos into the Batwoman show. The prime example I saw of this that seemed to annoy a ton of people was when they introduced the non-Hush version of the character. Everyone was like, that's a Batman character. You cannot have him. But answer me this. If Kate Kane and Bruce Wayne are related, and they ran in similar circles at some point, I'm pretty sure that they would have run into the same people. And those people, even if they didn't meet them directly, would know who the other one was. So why can we not have Batman characters come in and meet Batwoman characters? But I just love what they did with this character. They've kept, like I said, the essence of it. They've kept the spirit of it. And I think they've done a really good job of not only melding the comic books together, but putting their own spin on it as well. With Arrow being in its final season this past year, and with how much that show was the foundation for everything that came after in the Arrowverse, it's clear the CW wanted something to keep on that type of projection, to have the same type of feel to it that people would gravitate towards. And I think they found it with Batwoman. Now, sure, there's been talk about a spin-off from Green Arrow with Green Arrow and the Canaries. But let's be honest, who knows if that show's ever actually going to happen. I just couldn't help but notice so much of Arrow in Batwoman when I was watching it. And that is by no means a bad thing. Whether it was the dark, gritty underbelly of the city, whether it was the vigilante aspect of it, or the flashbacks to inform what was currently happening. It just had so much similarities to Arrow that I loved it. And that is, in no small part, yes, to the actors and actresses, but also to the screenwriters and the stories. The through arcs for the entire season were great. They were solid. I cared about every character. Now, yes, if you ask me, well, Peter, can you rate these characters? Sure, I could do that. There are some that I like more than others. But overall, I cared about everyone in the show. There was not one that I was like, okay, he's on, I can check out for a moment. No, I was enthralled. And while Batwoman might have been the lead of the show, and she was amazing and carried it, a hero is only as strong as their villain. And Alice was a fantastic villainess. She was complex. She was conniving. She was always thinking 3 steps ahead of Batwoman. For the most part. If you've seen the season, you know the times I'm talking about. She had a real connection with Batwoman. There was a reason for everything she did. There was a reason she kept coming after Batwoman. The way they would knock heads, and here on out, I'm going to freely talk about spoilers if you haven't seen the season. The fact that she and Kate were sisters, and they both had their own idea of what family or sisterhood was great. It's what helped drive the core of this show. You had Alice wanting revenge on their father for abandoning her, but she wanted Kate to see the darkness in him and the darkness that was in Kate herself and pull her back so they could become sisters once again, which is not a bad idea. She just wasn't going about it the right way. Then you had Kate, who thought that her sister was gone, but she'd held on to that hope that she was still alive. And when she learns that her sister is in fact alive and this villain, she's trying everything in her power to bring her back, to the point that throughout the show, you're like, just give up. It's clear she's evil, but Kate never did. So it was a show and a rivalry that while you wanted Batwoman to come out on top always, you couldn't help but root for Alice in the sense that you wanted them to be sisters again. And I love that complexity with a villain. I love that complexity with a hero. And the story was just so good that I wanted to watch every episode every week when it came on. While I stand behind what I've said in the past, that I love shows about complex characters, great stories, and that's all I really want, the truth is, this is a superhero show we're talking about. I want superhero action. That is one of the primary reasons I'm watching this show. If I'm watching The Flash, I want to see The Flash use the Speed Force. Supergirl, I want to see her fly and punch stuff and heat vision. If I'm watching Arrow, I want to see him punch, kick, and shoot arrows. Same thing goes with Batwoman. I want to see her take down bad guys with her fists, her feet, her batarangs, any type of gadgets. And this show delivers on that. The choreography is fantastic. The action scenes are engrossing. The gadgets that they use are fantastic. It gave me exactly what I wanted from a Batwoman show when it came to the action. But the funny thing about the action is, it wasn't always front and center of the show. Now you might be thinking, well, you just said you love action. So when there's not action, do you still love it, or why do you like it? Well, I do love it, even when there's not the action. Yes, like I've said, it had the story, it had the characters that I came to love. But they did such a good job of getting you entangled in this world, getting you absorbed into the world of Gotham and Batwoman, that even when the action wasn't going, the dialogue and the characters kept you glued to the screen, that you didn't really care that the action wasn't going on. That is something I've come to realize also with these shows. You can have action scenes, and you can have dialogue and explanatory scenes, exposition. But if either one of them is done poorly, then the show doesn't necessarily succeed or land on its feet. You need to be able to balance them and make them work together and use them just the right amount. And that's something Batwoman did. It balanced the action with the story. And even if the story overpowered the action for a specific episode, you didn't really care, because you cared about the characters, you cared about the story, you cared about what was going on screen. And that was the sign that Batwoman was in fact doing its job and was a fun, entertaining show to watch. Now we come to one of the core aspects of who Batwoman is, along with one of the most delicate subjects, that of her being a lesbian. Some people will love the show just because of that. And there are definitely plenty of people who will not even give the show a chance because of that. With all that out of the way, though, and just looking at how they brought that in, how they showed that side of this character, I think they did a very good job of it. It wasn't like they kept drilling it into your head saying, hey, remember, she's a lesbian. Hey, she's a lesbian. Hey, she's a lesbian. Make sure this is an important thing. You have to like this. It's a bad thing if you don't. They could have done that, but they didn't. They balanced it with story. When they brought it up, it was important to the story. It was important to the character or to somebody else involved in Kate's life. It was never forced. And that is one of the best things about this show, is it never seems to force any ideal, force anything on its audience. And I really do appreciate that, because there are so many shows, and even, yes, some of the CW shows, that seem to push these agendas, and they forget why we as fans love these characters or why we watch these shows. Like I mentioned, I watch these shows for the characters, for the stories, for the action, for the opportunity to get away from what's going on in the world right now or going on in my own backyard. When I watch these, I just want to escape. And Batwoman did that for me every week. I just loved it. Now, this whole idea of escapism or what exactly comics are, that's a whole nother video, which I might do here sometime in the future. But I really admire them for what they did with this character, with this subject. It never felt overused. It never felt pushed or shoved in your face. And I appreciated all of that. Batwoman had a lot of challenges ahead of her. She not only had to prove the naysayers wrong, but she had to prove to the fans that she was worthy of their love and support. She had to show that she wasn't just a one-off character or a supporting character or one that the fans could get excited about in a crossover. She had to prove that she could stand on her own 2 feet and still be amazing. And they did that. And that is in no small part to Ruby Rose herself. Sure, if the stories were bad, if the visuals were bad, if anything else about the production itself wasn't good, yeah, the show still would have fell apart. But when the title is Batwoman and that's who you're playing, you carry the weight of the show on your shoulders. And I think Ruby did a great job of bringing this character to life, giving the fans things they wanted, introducing her to a new world of fandom, new people who never even knew who she was. And the truth is, I'm going to be sad to see her go. I'm going to be sad that every week I'm not going to get to see her playing Batwoman. But times change. Who knows? Maybe the next actress that they get to play Batwoman will be fantastic. Maybe the next season will be better than the first. I have to hope so, because I want to see this show continue on for 100 episodes, like just about every CW show has, or most likely will. You never know though. Maybe season 2 will be the end for Batwoman. Maybe all the controversy around it, maybe everything that came out from the show will send it flopping and they won't be able to recover. I really hope not, because I loved what they did with the show and I only wish it the best. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Tell me, what do you think about Batwoman? Did you watch 1 or 2 episodes? Did you completely ignore it? And if so, why? I'd really like to know what it was about this show that hindered you from watching it or stopped watching it. And if that's the case, I would really encourage you to go back and maybe try another 2 or 3 episodes from where you ended. Because I really think this show was great and it deserves to continue on. And I really hope that it gets the recognition it deserves. Until next time, enjoy what you love, read what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. I'll see you next time.